Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. Um, just wait a few moments to make sure that our guest for today will join the webinar as well. Hi, Valeria.
Hi. Hi.
So the subject for today I feel somehow it's quite difficult. It's something that it's a lot of during a year we heard a lot of news, we read a lot of articles about engagement is down or engagement on Instagram doesn't work anymore. So I hope today we can clear some waters and bring some data and get some practical and tactical advice from social media pros that can help us um, go through these challenges in social media. So thanks again for being with us in this live session. We are going to stay together up to 45 minutes, and you can ask us questions anytime. There is a chat, there is a Q&A tool here in Zoom. You can use it anytime. We are going to um, ask directly in this live session. And before starting into the subject for today, so the talk that we have prepared for today is based on our social media benchmark report we just released. We analyzed 77 million social media posts across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X to understand the trend engagement, platform engagement comparison, posting volume, and audience growth. But I'm not going to share too much numbers because I can do that, but I'm pretty sure that some of you will lose uh, interest in following only number. That's why I have with me four fantastic guests. Amy Watts, social media strategist and content creator. Daniel Moat, digital content specialist at BJS Home Delivery. Valeria Silani, global social media manager at Easy Vista. And we are still waiting for Elisa Wardrop, global social media specialist at IKEA. So, hi, ladies. How are you?
All good. Thank you for having us. Hi. Thanks for having us.
I'm all good, thank you. And also, thanks for having us.
So, while we were in the backstage, we discussed a little bit about how the year started and how do you feel about, I don't know, the social media changes so far. And I think we are ready to dive in, right? So before sharing, I don't know, as I said, before sharing stats and numbers about the engagement on social media, I would like to ask you, Amy, if you had to summarize 2025 social media performance in one uncomfortable truth, what will that be?
Yeah, this was a very interesting and juicy question to start us off with. And I'm going to try not to be very cliche or sound like some kind of LinkedIn guru when I say this. But I do think that, the old playbook of how we used to measure social has definitely gone. It's dead and buried, especially I think last year made it feel especially clear that, I feel like we used to focus so much on volume metrics, views, likes, impressions, all of those metrics that made us feel good when we could see them in our report. But we're starting to see that engagement is a lot more passive than it used to be. I think people are so overwhelmed with content now, and that's only gotten more intense since the dawn of AI and ChatGPT and the AI slop that's kind of filling our feeds. I think audiences are a lot more picky with what they're willing to engage with and interact with. And so we're seeing that metrics are changing. I'm seeing a lot more brands focus on saves and shares the signals that people are really taking the time to properly consume your content intentionally rather than just, kind of chucking a like on something. And I think also audiences are craving those more intimate communities and like genuine interaction. So I think the way that we used to measure how well social content is performing has completely changed, and it's never felt more different than it does right now. So yeah, I hope that was a good answer, and I'd be intrigued to see what other people think.
Yeah, I can confirm that numbers sustain this idea. So it seems that there is an increase in number of shares and views across all major platforms, and there is a decrease in interactions such as comments or likes, for example. So it seems that we are entering into a new passive era, and audience prefer to just see the post from the brands and not commenting anymore, but they prefer to share, which means that private communities are something that can be a topic that we should address, or something that we should adopt to our strategy. Hi, Elisa. Welcome.
Hello, sorry I'm a little late. I had technical issues, but I am here.
Great. Awesome. So I did the presentations before you joined, and already announced people that you will be joining later. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So the next question that I have is for you, Elisa. As Amy said, it seems that we are entering into a silent era where people prefer to share, or people prefer just to watch the content. And what engagement, what do you feel about this? How brands can approach this silent era?
Yeah, I do think that we are entering into that like silent era. And I keep seeing it time and time again on my own content where it's like a few comments and then thousands of shares. And I'm like, okay, then. And I do think it is due to a few different things. Like Amy was saying, like we're bombarded with content. So people are more selective on what they comment on these days. Like everyone's a content creator. My dad, who's 67, is making TikToks every week at his beach, a local beach. But also, commenting does take effort. You actually have to use a few brain cells, and people are time poor. They rather just like or quickly share it to their friend. And I think, yeah, in like the last few years, people have gone from like tagging their friends in their comments to say like, hey, look at this, to just like sending it directly to them. Yeah, and I see that shift on a lot of the platforms that they're like favoring shares over comments. Maybe not LinkedIn, but for the other platforms like TikTok, definitely. And like at the end of the day, the platforms do want to keep people on their app. So sharing to friends brings people back in on the app. Interesting to note though, because I am in a global role now, I've noticed that some countries are a lot more active in the comments on content than others. But yeah, it's really changed what I use as like a key metric of what success looks like. It used to be looking at comments and what was the highest commented on, but now it is definitely shares. And yeah, I think brands need to change the way they're making content to make, I guess, people stop in their feed and get value from the content and actually make them want to share it with their friends and onto their stories.
Yeah. So if in the past we are focusing a lot and reporting a lot on comments, and we got a lot of consumer insight, customer insights from those comments, now it seems that these insights are gated. We cannot extract comments or conversations from private communities. So in terms of analytics data, we should expect to get a lower volume of on insights, because comments are are sort of down. So Daniel, based on the data that we analyzed, it seems that TikTok is still a driver for engagement when comparing Instagram with TikTok and Facebook and X. TikTok is the winner here. Why is TikTok doing right and others aren't?
That doesn't really surprise me that TikTok is in the lead here, because as we know, TikTok's algorithm is built for discovery. People just pick up their phone and can tell a story right here, right now. Where with Instagram, it more has that pre-production to it. And I think with TikTok, it still has that virality also, where it kind of pushes it out and it naturally drives that higher interaction, where Instagram, it is that familiarity and it needs the watches, the saves, the shares for it to then be pushed out to an audience. So I think until Instagram slightly change their algorithm, which they are slowly catching up, I think TikTok will lead on this for the following year also.
Yeah, and still that in terms of the way brands are creating this type, the way brands are created content, it's not quite right here, right now, and the way they do on TikTok. I know that for Instagram, brands aren't collaborate with so many creators, while on TikTok, the creators are the ones that are created content for brands. And it seems that for the other platforms, this doesn't work the same.
I agree.
Yeah. And Valeria, we discussed a lot about comments. We discussed a lot about shares and also about views. And it seems that views are up and overall comments are down. How social media teams should define success?
So I think that if now views are rising and increasing and interactions are down, the thing that we need to consider at first is that this doesn't mean that the content is not working anymore, but it means that we need to reconsider the way that we monitor and keep track performance on those content. So make a switch. So as you already said, the user behavior has changed and is constantly changing on this platform. So they want to consume content faster and also in a quieter way, but this doesn't mean that they don't consume content anymore. So, for example, I think about TikTok, on Instagram, but also YouTube that we didn't mention. We know that people are also looking for product information. They also shop directly from those platforms. So what social teams need to think about is to redefine the main KPIs. So don't just focus on engagement rate, but look for shares, look for views, reach, but also that I think that are even more valuable than just like and comments. And finally, also look for business metrics like conversions, like, I don't know, demo requests or link clicks, website visits. So changing a little bit the approach and the point of view. This is what I think we should all do.
Yeah, and also I think there will be a high search in for specific brands on these platforms. So let's not forget that social media is becoming also a search platform. We know that TikTok started with this, and now Instagram joining to this wave. So it's important, even if you, as a brand, even if you get views and shares, all of these contribute to get a higher increase in search volume, for example, in those specific brands, in those specific platforms. And regarding the metrics that you mentioned, that brands should not only focus and not only reporting the engagement, the things that we did in the past, but also leads from sales or leads from social, or sales that we get from social, or for example, how many sales are influenced by social media. Maybe there is not a direct, you cannot have a right attribution, but if you can think in terms of how to set up a system that gives you some insights, how many people had a touch with your brand, and social media was that touch point. And Amy, it seems that brands are posting around 5 times per week. Is it something that, so this is what the data show us. Is it something that they should keep it, or they should focus on something else?
Yeah, I think this is something I talk a lot about with clients and other people in the industry. And I think it goes without saying that every brand is different, every audience is different, every industry is different. What works for you isn't going to work the same for someone else. But when I talk to brands, I always say to people, don't feel like you have to force yourself to post 5 times a week if it just isn't realistic. I think I always say put quality over quantity. Like, it's more important to show up intentionally than it is to just like post for the sake of it. And I think when people have set this benchmark for themselves, like we have to post 5 days a week every week, usually that's when you end up with content that feels a bit templated or feels like you're just ticking a box. If you feel like you have to fill all of these calendar slots, you usually end up just thinking, how can I scramble and find something to talk about, rather than thinking about what your audience actually wants to consume and wants to interact with. So I always say, if you need to pull it back to 2 to 3 posts per week instead, but you can create 2 to 3 high quality posts that really land, I would always go for that option.
So basically reviewing every week or every month what these posts are driving. For example, maybe they are driving more saves, or which type of posts are driving more saves, or and so on, and focus on that specific content pillar or content format.
Yeah, like looking at consistency, not just kind of constant volume and constant production, seeing what's actually, driving those interactions.
Yeah. But I have to admit that there are some brands that are confirming that also publishing more content have influenced the numbers overall. Maybe this example it's based on the SaaS industry where I'm the most active, but it seems that overall, when you look at the cross-platform metrics, there is also posting volume might influence these numbers. So my suggestion here is to look at what your industry does and check the trends of that are specifically for your industry, because as I said, in my particular case, I noticed that there are brands that are pretty heavy with their posting volume across a lot of social media platforms, and the numbers are looking impressive. I'm not sure if, of course, there is a mix between the content they produce and strategy they have, and how much value they give with those with the content. It's always a mix. It's not one item, but industry always help to look and to understand what's working and what's not. Elisa, why are shares becoming more valuable than comments?
I think it goes back to what I was saying before, like people are now sharing to their stories or sharing in chats with their friends rather than like commenting. And yeah, it's more valuable for the platform once again because it's like getting people back on there and like in this loop of like looking at the feed, looking at people's stories, looking at their direct messages. So they're like spending more time on it because I don't know about you, but like I feel like it's a full-time job keeping up with all the reels and TikToks my friends send me. And I have so many chats and I spend hours just reading their messages. And yeah, I think for brands, like it means success isn't all about comments now. It's about creating content that resonates with people and like genuinely adds value to their scrolling and giving them a reason to share. And yeah, if you think about it, sharing is quite personal. Like it's how people really express who they are online, their sense of humor, their values, their interests. Like for me, I share a lot of memes. I share a lot of political things. I share a lot of my own work onto my story and to my friends to be like, please like it, keep me in the job. So for brands, it's really important to like get more shares, and I'd prioritize content around entertainment, educating, things that are relatable, like, oh my God, this is so us, and things that are inspiring. And yeah, honestly, humor, I think, is one of the easiest things to get people to share to their friends and onto their stories because, yeah, making someone laugh and smile is, especially in the state of the world right now.
Yeah. And the way we stay connected somehow.
Exactly. And yeah, I think a tip that I say to people is like when they're scrolling and they stop and share something to their friend from a brand or like a content creator, like take a mental note as to why you're sharing it and then maybe like how that can help you create similar content or be inspired to create similar content for your own brand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you summarize pretty well the way we should tailor the strategy in 2026.
Yes.
And to be relatable, to include some humor, and to be the education part. These are the things that I don't know people usually share with their friends and their close friends and I don't know coworkers and so on. So it's important to have this in mind every time we should create a piece of content.
Mhm.
Danielle, Instagram views are up on both platforms in 2026 on TikTok and Instagram. Why does it not feel like brands are winning something here?
I think that the views are up because of Reels and the way that the platform's been emerging over the last 2 years with Reels in play and they're battling out to be TikTok. I do feel that views are a top funnel metric. And as we were saying then, we're looking for the saves, we're looking for the shares. And without that, the reach doesn't look that impressive and it won't be pushed as much. So brands are going to feel like they're not winning as more because of that.
Yeah. And Valeria, why does passive engagement tell us how people actually consume content today?
So, as we said, passive engagement is like the 2026 challenge, I would say, and it's like the most relevant and trends right now. It tells us that people are changing the way that the way they engage on platforms. We are constantly overstimulated with content, so probably we are also like tired of constantly commenting, reacting, interacting in an active way on social platforms. So what it says is that users want to engage more and are engaging more privately on and passively, of course, but they prefer engaging with their friends, with communities in a more quieter way, and in a more passive way. So they don't want to be there. They don't want to show that they are there, always there, constantly active. So, but they are there. I mean, we know that. we need to consider that they are still there. But yeah, think about how we can keep them engaged, and how we can redefine our strategies based on that.
Yeah, it's a you said something here that it's really worth mentioning again, is the fact that they are still in those platforms. So if we are looking at the monthly active users on each platform, we didn't see any major changes, but it seems that the way they consume transform into communities, into small groups, and not expressing what they feel in a public way. So it seems that we need to, protect somehow as human being, and to feel somehow comfortable to share our views, but in a closed group and not public to everyone where everyone can see it. But leadership don't like this stuff. So when we are presenting the numbers to the upper management, sometimes they can't, they can ask additional questions. They can say that they can tie our performance or our skills to the social media performance. So, Amy, how should marketers explain declining comments to leadership in a friendly way?
Yeah, I think this is one of the hardest parts of working in social, especially if you're talking to the leadership who maybe don't fully understand social. And I think the first thing to remember is that, this data is across the board. It's not just you're not doing something wrong, you're not failing. And that's something that I think past me needed to hear, because I used to feel so much pressure and feel like maybe I was doing something wrong or I needed to fix something. But the data is there, and you can see the data by industry, and I think use that to your advantage and show that to senior leadership to show that this isn't just something that we're seeing, it's something that's happening across the board. It's a behavior shift. And also, I think some industries are just less active online, especially in B2B. I work mainly in B2B, and if you're talking to marketers are more than happy to be vocal and respond and engage, and they really respond well to social, whereas other industries might not be as vocal. Okay, right? So you need to understand who you're talking to, and also have realistic expectations. You need to set those expectations with leadership as well. But I think, what can help, as in addition to showing this data, is sometimes just moving away from looking at comment volume and instead looking at the quality of the comments, or what those comments can actually tell you. So, what are people actually saying in the comments? Who is commenting? Are they the right kind of people? How can you respond to comments, not just by replying in the thread, but also creating content based from what people are saying in the comments? I've seen some really cool examples of brands turning comments into entire campaigns. You can have so much fun with the comment section. There's so much more you can do. So sometimes, if we are seeing a decline in comments, it's not a reason to sit back and think, well, nothing we can do here. It's a time to get creative and see, how can you use that as an opportunity? What else can you do? If you're not getting the volume of comments, how can you make better use of the ones that do come through? But it is tough. And yeah, that used to be very stressful, constantly having to explain to senior leadership why things maybe aren't going the way that you want them to. But as long as you have data like this that you can use, in your arsenal, it really, really helps.
Yeah, it's important to correlate the data and bring some context, so not just showing some numbers, but bringing some context, compare the performance with past data that you have, or with industry data, competitors data. It's really important to bring some context and to not just adding just some numbers. Elisa, what are brands misunderstanding about video growth on Instagram right now?
I maybe a few things. First thing that comes to mind is what Amy said earlier, is about brands like focusing on quality over quantity and just wanting to pump out as many videos as they can, and then they sometimes end up missing just like getting the basics right, like a strong hook to get people in the first few seconds and actually watch the video. I would say maybe another issue is the balance between short form content and long form content. A lot of brands focus only on short form content to get like new followers, but they don't mix it with slightly longer content that actually like sustains followers and builds a connection. Because I guess like the discovery of short form content brings them in, but like depth is what they really stay for. What else? I think maybe on that, a lot of people, there is this big idea like that people are time poor, they don't have an attention span anymore. And I think to some extent it is true, but people do have attention spans if the content is genuinely interesting or entertaining. And like we all binge TV shows and podcasts and long TikTok story time. So I think not just assuming everyone is like an ADHD goldfish, but there are people who will watch longer format content if it is interesting. And a lot of brands often treat TikTok and Instagram like they're the same platform when they're not. TikTok, it like skews towards more of a younger audience, and it moves extremely fast on trends. Like often things are created overnight globally. People are in on like this global inside joke. Like if you think of the Group 7 trend a few months ago, but Instagram is not so much like that. It feels like Instagram's the Internet Explorer sometimes. It takes longer to adopt trends, and you can't just post the same thing on TikTok and on Instagram and hope it works just as well.
Yeah, and I can confirm that based on the data that we have, and when I analyzed at Social Insider, I noticed that longer videos on TikTok generate more engagement. So, as you said, maybe it's the time to move from only sharing short videos and move into storytelling, longer videos, and entertainment videos that brings value to our audience. And I think we have the last. We need to take the last questions here, and if you have questions, it's the final minutes to write them right here in the Q&A chat. And Danielle, which metric do you personally trust the most and why?
It would have to be saves and shares. I think we've said this a lot throughout this webinar today. It is the way that the shift has happened probably within the last year and going into 2026. It's the importance of the audience feeling like they're getting content that's relatable, they're connecting with it, as Elisa said, like creating educating content, entertainment content, all of that really matters going into 2026. So I do think saves and shares are definitely the metric we're all gaining to hope for this year.
Yeah, yeah. You actually, if I have to summarize in one sentence, this live session, it's about the shift is happening, and now we are moving from the metrics that we measured in the past, moving to measuring stuff like views and shares, and people are moving to private communities. And Valeria, if you have to send one slide to a CEO with the insights for engagement in 2026, what would you add to that slide?
So I would probably share the slide that shows the engagement gap across all platforms, because it perfectly shows the real situation between all the platforms, and how users are engaging and interacting, and where users are. So from a CEO point of view, I think it would be interesting to better understand where we need to focus on, where we need to invest, rather than just saying, I don't know, let's be on TikTok, let's be on LinkedIn, because we're sure it's a B2B platform, and TikTok it's not going to work. So have data to support decision. And I think that the engagement gap between platforms can be interesting for a CEO to have a better vision of what's going on social media, and where the brand audience can be, or where is engaging the most or not. For example, we also saw a decrease in engagement on X, compared to, of course, an increase on TikTok. So this is a signal that we need to keep in mind, and also that maybe a CEO should keep in mind.
Yeah. Facebook and X are quite the same in terms of engagement based on the data that we analyzed, but the numbers are pretty low compared to Instagram and TikTok. We have some questions here. So Caitlin asked us, what kind of storytelling content can be the best or most engaging for B2B businesses? Who wants to?
I can jump in on that. I could talk all day about storytelling in B2B, but I'll keep it short. I think, especially in B2B, a lot of brands try to do storytelling, but usually just end up telling the story of how great they are because they feel like they have to always be selling. But I think the storytelling that always sticks with me and that I really remember in B2B is when you find like an actual person who has used your product in like an interesting or unique way, and you actually focus on what they've managed to achieve. I think that's always so much more relatable when it's focusing on the person rather than the company or the solution. I think also what's fun is talking about things that went wrong. Often in B2B, we only hear about, fun announcements and we raised money and we launched this and all these amazing things. Whereas sometimes it's a lot more engaging and more interesting to hear about things that didn't go so well, mistakes that were made and how you can turn them into something good. What else off the top of my brain? I think, just think about what works in B2C. Usually it's something that's unexpected, something that's human, something that's relatable. Just because you're in B2B and you're talking to someone in a business context doesn't mean that those fundamentals of storytelling don't apply. So take inspiration from the brands that are doing fun things in B2C and see how it can apply to what you're doing.
Yeah, and I can confirm this, that behind the scenes, it's something that B2B audience want to see. They want to see who are the people what challenges that business have, and not only the milestone they usually reach. Any thoughts on video or LinkedIn? Elisa, would you like to join?
Yes, well, it's a hot topic because LinkedIn apparently is pushing videos and has been saying that for the last 2 years, but not a lot of us are seeing the results from that. We're still seeing like simple text posts working best, and especially carousels. I am on a mission this year to actually try and find what works on LinkedIn in terms of videos. And for now, I've just started like making it feel just like kind of like TikTok videos, like a green screen with a graphic behind, or like a day in the life of a social media specialist and stuff like that. So more of the entertaining storytelling type of TikToks over corporate. I'll see how I go with that though.
Yeah, I think the corporate videos are not something that we want to see, or even corporate messages. It's not something that would like to see across all platforms. So
and LinkedIn is becoming a lot more fun and not so much corporate professional vibes, but I am actually spending more time on LinkedIn than TikTok these days. And there is this big shift now that more like Gen Z are on there. They're creating just more fun content, status updates, live updates. So it is becoming more like acceptable to be like that on LinkedIn. So yeah, try to have a bit more fun, I guess, with videos on there.
yeah. Another question is about Blue Sky and Twitter. I can say that the report that I just highlighted here covers Twitter data, X data. You can dive in and see what are the differences between this year and last year's. We have questions about how large are your social teams? Are you creating everything yourself, or who helps to create the content if you are coming up with the concepts?
I can answer the question. So my team is composed by me and my colleague. So I have a colleague. We work together. We think about the content that we want to create, both for Easy Vista and OTRS, the other brand of the Easy Vista group that we manage. And we work along with, of course, the content marketing team and the graphics team. So we're more or less two specifically in the social team, but we strongly work very closely with the other members, especially with the graphics and also I would say also with the field marketing, because we cover different countries, so it's very important to us to have everything translated as much as possible in all the languages.
Yeah, and depending on the brand size, involves to have other people with different skills, video design, and let the social media manager manage the social media. But when it comes to small companies, a team of one, the community overall, it's quite small. Some more can be done by one person, but depending on the budget and so on. And the last questions that we can cover during this live is: has anyone noticed changes in TikTok now that the USA control is? I've seen it more political and leaning to the right. Elisa, you said that you stay a lot on TikTok.
Yeah, I know when the big change happened like 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of glitches, and like we had a really big campaign go live with a creator, but only people in America could see it. So there was a lot of glitches. And I have been reading that people are seeing that it's more leaning to the right, censoring certain topics. I myself haven't seen that because I'm very much on the other side and only see left leaning stuff. But yeah, I know there has been discussion around it. And yeah, who knows with America these days?
Yeah, I know that there are a lot of questions in the beginning of the month about the changes on TikTok, the fact that the views are dropping and the content is not exposed in the Explore feed. I took a deep dive into the data that we have at Social Insider. Indeed, for some brands, I noticed a drop in views, even though they maintain the same content volume. And others, there was any other change. So maybe depending, I don't know. It's important, as I said, it's important to look at these numbers in context, not only on a daily check, but look how the views are performing. Month over month or quarter over quarter, not making a big event only from, I don't know, from a thing like this. Take a break, go outside and touch the grass, and then come back with new forces and analyze the data in a much broader context. Yeah, so it seems that this was the last question that we could cover during this live session. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing all this knowledge. And somehow I hope that everyone who stayed with us till the end have some, let's say, tools and ways of looking at how social media is working right now. And if you still have questions about the engagement or what you should do, I'm pretty sure that Valeria, Amy, Danielle, and Elisa, all of them are active on LinkedIn. You can connect with them, and I really recommend you to connect with them on LinkedIn and ask them questions about stuff like this. Thanks again, Valeria, Amy, and Daniele and Elisa for sharing all these insights. It seems that we should move to views and shares in this year, and let's see that the numbers look quite inspiring for the upper management.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and have a great day or evening, depending where you are. Okay.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.